Have you ever felt like everything was going perfectly with a woman, only to suddenly feel her interest fading away? One moment, she seems engaged, excited, and drawn to you, and the next, her energy shifts. She takes longer to respond, her enthusiasm drops, and suddenly she's distant. You replay every interaction in your head, wondering what went wrong. Did you say something? Did you not say enough? Was there something you missed? And the truth is, yes, there was something, a mistake, a fundamental error that caused her to lose interest without you even realizing it. And here's the harsh reality. Most men don't even know they're making this mistake. They go through life repeating the same patterns, watching women drift away, feeling powerless to change it. But what if I told you that there's a way to not only stop this from happening, but to command natural respect and attraction from women, without games, without manipulation, but by embodying the wisdom of the Stoics? What if I told you that understanding this single error could transform the way women see you forever? This isn't just another dating tip. This is a philosophy, a way of thinking and being that separates weak men from strong ones, the forgotten from the respected, and it all starts with one principle: control. Not control over her, because that's impossible, but control over yourself, over how you think, how you react, and how you carry yourself. The mistake most men make: they give away their power. They let their emotions dictate their actions. They chase, they seek validation, they overinvest. And the moment a woman senses that, she pulls away. Not because she's cruel, but because attraction isn't built on neediness, it's built on strength. In this video, I'm going to reveal the biggest mistake that makes women lose interest and how you can avoid it, using the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. You'll learn how to become the kind of man who naturally commands respect and admiration, not just from women, but in every area of your life. But here's the catch. If you skip to the end or think you already know the answer, you'll miss the crucial details that make the difference. This isn't just about understanding the problem. It's about rewiring the way you approach women, relationships, and even yourself. And one more thing. By the end of this video, I'm going to share a powerful mindset shift that will not only prevent you from making this mistake, but will make you the kind of man women are naturally drawn to. So stick with me until the end, because this is the key to breaking free from the cycle of disappointment and stepping into your full potential as a man. Before we dive into the solution, let me ask you, have you ever wondered why some men seem to have an effortless pull with women while others struggle no matter how hard they try? The difference isn't in looks or money, it's in mindset. It's in how they carry themselves, in the quiet confidence that radiates from within. And that confidence? It comes from understanding what I'm about to teach you. But before we get into it, I want to let you in on something. If you're serious about mastering this mindset and taking your personal growth to the next level, I've put together something exclusive for those who want real, lasting transformation. You'll find the link in the description or pinned in the comments. But for now, let's get into it, because what I'm about to share will change the way you see yourself and the way women see you forever. The biggest mistake that makes women lose interest is simple but devastating: a lack of emotional control. Most men don't realize it, but their inability to regulate their emotions is what turns a woman off faster than anything else. It's not about being too nice or too available, it's about the energy you put out. When a man is emotionally reactive, constantly seeking validation, or allowing a woman's actions to dictate his mood, he becomes unattractive on a fundamental level. Why? Because he's no longer leading his own life. He's reacting to hers. Imagine this. You meet a woman, and everything is going great. She's engaging, laughing at your jokes, responding quickly to your messages. You feel that spark, that rush of excitement. But then suddenly she starts pulling back. Her texts get shorter. She takes longer to reply and she seems less enthusiastic. What do most men do in this situation? They panic. They start overcompensating, sending more messages, asking if something's wrong, trying harder to regain her attention. But here's the problem. By doing this, they reveal their biggest weakness. They show that their emotional state depends on her. Women instinctively test men, not out of malice, but because they are wired to seek strength. A man who is easily rattled, who crumbles at the slightest sign of distance, is not a man she can respect. She may not even realize she's doing it, but the moment she senses weakness, her attraction begins to fade. The Stoics understood this principle well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the core of emotional control, understanding that your peace, your confidence, and your sense of self must never be dictated by external circumstances, especially not by a woman's fluctuating interest. So, what should you do instead? The answer lies in detachment, not coldness, not indifference, but a deep, unshakable understanding that you are enough with or without her. A man who truly embodies this does not chase. He does not over-explain himself. He does not seek reassurance. If a woman pulls back, he does not panic. He maintains his frame. He continues living his life with the same confidence and direction as before. This isn't about playing games. It's about embodying a mindset of strength and self-respect. Think about the most respected men in history. Did they beg for attention? Did they react emotionally to every slight or rejection? No, they had a mission greater than themselves, and their energy was directed toward that purpose. When a woman senses that you have this kind of depth, she is naturally drawn to you. She sees that you are a man of value, a man who does not seek approval, but instead commands respect through his actions and his presence. One of the key shifts you need to make is to stop placing women at the center of your world. Too many men make the mistake of prioritizing a woman's validation over everything else. They put their ambitions, their friendships, their own personal growth on hold just to keep her interested. This is one of the fastest ways to lose her respect. A woman should complement your life, not become the purpose of it. A man who has true emotional control does not become emotionally invested too quickly. He does not confuse attraction with attachment. He understands that a woman's interest can fluctuate, and he does not let that affect his state of mind. Instead of reacting emotionally, he observes. He lets things unfold naturally. If a woman starts acting distant, he does not chase, he lets her go. He does not take it personally because he knows that his value does not depend on anyone else's perception of him. This is what the Stoics meant by amor fati, the love of fate. You accept what happens without resistance, without fear, without desperation. If she stays, great. If she leaves, that's fine too. Your happiness, your confidence, your peace of mind remain intact because they were never dependent on her in the first place. Let me give you a real-life example. I once knew a man who was deeply involved with a woman he admired. She was everything he wanted, intelligent, beautiful, charming. At first, everything seemed perfect, but over time, as she started pulling away, he began to crumble. He became more insecure, more needy, constantly trying to win her back. The more he tried, the more distant she became. Eventually, she ended things, telling him she just wasn't feeling it anymore. He was devastated. He couldn't understand why, after everything he had done for her, she had lost interest. But when he looked back, he realized the truth. He had given away his power. He had allowed his emotions to be dictated by her actions, and in doing so, he had lost his sense of self. Now, contrast this with another man I knew. He too was dating a woman he was deeply interested in. But when she started pulling away, he did something different. He didn't chase, he didn't seek reassurance. He simply continued living his life as he always had, focused on his goals, his growth, his purpose. When she eventually came back, he welcomed her, but he never lost himself in the process. And because of that, she respected him more. She saw him as a man who had his own direction, his own strength. That is the difference between a man who repels women and a man who naturally attracts them. The key takeaway here is simple. Emotional control is everything. If you let a woman's actions dictate your confidence, you've already lost. But if you remain centered, if you hold your frame, you become the kind of man who commands respect effortlessly. And this is just the beginning. In the next section, we're going to go even deeper, because avoiding neediness and emotional instability is just one part of the equation. There's another, even more powerful mistake that many men make, and it's one that most don't even realize they're guilty of. If you thought this first principle was eye-opening, wait until you hear what's next. This is the real secret to making women see you as a man of value, and it's coming up right now. Now that we've uncovered the first and most crucial mistake, losing emotional control, let's move on to something even more insidious. This mistake is what separates men who command respect from those who are merely tolerated. It's the mistake of seeking validation. This is something most men don't even realize they're doing, but women can sense it immediately. And once they do, the attraction begins to fade, sometimes permanently. Think about the times you've texted a woman and anxiously waited for her reply. Maybe you felt a rush of relief when she responded quickly, or frustration when she took too long. Or maybe you've dressed a certain way, acted a certain way, or even suppressed your true opinions just to keep her interested. That's validation-seeking behavior. It's subtle, but it's deadly. Because the moment a woman realizes that her approval determines your self-worth, she stops seeing you as a man of value. Women don't respect men who seek validation. Why? Because it signals weakness. A strong man validates himself. He doesn't need approval to feel good about who he is. And when a man is secure in himself, women naturally find him more attractive. This is one of the core lessons of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." A man who values his own opinion above all else radiates confidence, and that confidence is magnetic. Let's break this down further. Imagine you're out on a date. You're sitting across from a woman you find incredibly attractive. You're enjoying the conversation, but in the back of your mind, there's a nagging question. Does she like me? The more you focus on this thought, the more you start altering your behavior. Maybe you laugh a little too hard at her jokes. Maybe you agree with things you don't actually believe in. Maybe you hold back from expressing your true thoughts because you don't want to risk losing her interest. What you don't realize is that in doing this, you're giving away your power. You're showing her, even if subtly, that her opinion of you is more important than your own sense of self. And the moment she detects this, the dynamic shifts. She no longer sees you as a man she can look up to. She sees you as someone who is trying too hard. The reality is this: a man of high value never asks himself, does she like me? Instead, he asks, do I like her? He sees himself as the prize. He knows that his time, his energy, and his attention are valuable. He doesn't chase approval. He naturally attracts it by being his authentic self. This is what separates leaders from followers. Women don't want a man who molds himself to fit their expectations. They want a man who stands firm in who he is, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Here's an example of what this looks like in action. I once knew a guy who, on the surface, seemed to have everything going for him. He was successful, well-dressed, and articulate. But there was something off about him. Women liked him at first, but their interest would always fade quickly. When I observed him more closely, I realized why. Every conversation he had with a woman was centered around impressing her. He would subtly fish for compliments, brag about his achievements, and constantly seek reassurance, and women picked up on it instantly. Contrast that with another guy I knew. He wasn't flashy, he didn't try to impress anyone, but he had an unshakable sense of self. If a woman was interested in him, great. If not, it didn't faze him. He didn't change his demeanor to suit the situation. He remained grounded in who he was, and because of that, women respected him. They saw him as someone who didn't need their validation, and that made him incredibly attractive. So how do you break free from validation-seeking behavior? The first step is awareness. Start noticing when you're adjusting your behavior just to get a reaction. Are you texting her just because you want reassurance? Are you afraid to express your true thoughts because you don't want to risk losing her interest? Catch yourself in these moments and redirect your focus. Instead of thinking about how she perceives you, shift your attention to how you perceive yourself. This is where self-discipline comes into play. The Stoics believed in training the mind to be indifferent to praise or criticism. Epictetus taught that a wise man is independent of the opinion of others. That means whether she compliments you or ignores you, it doesn't shake your sense of self. You remain the same. You don't let your emotions be dictated by external approval. A practical way to develop this mindset is to practice indifference. The next time a woman pulls away instead of reacting emotionally, observe it with curiosity. Instead of chasing, continue living your life as if nothing happened. This doesn't mean playing games. It means genuinely realizing that your happiness does not depend on anyone else's attention. Another exercise: go out in public and wear something bold, something that stands out. It could be a unique color or an accessory you wouldn't normally wear. And then observe your own reactions. Do you feel self-conscious? Do you worry about what others think? If so, that's a sign that you're still seeking external validation. Keep doing this exercise until you reach a point where you genuinely don't care, because once you free yourself from the need for approval, you become unstoppable. Women respect men who have an internal source of confidence. They want to be around men who don't crumble under pressure, who don't need constant reassurance, who remain steady regardless of the situation. When you embody this, you become the kind of man who naturally commands attention without even trying. And here's something to keep in mind. Breaking free from validation-seeking behavior doesn't just improve your dating life. It transforms every area of your life. In business, in friendships, in leadership, people are drawn to those who exude quiet confidence. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you start attracting the right people effortlessly. Now I want you to reflect on something. How often do you let external validation dictate your actions? How many times have you changed your behavior just to be liked? It's time to break free from that. It's time to start living for yourself. Because the truth is, the most attractive thing a man can have is self-respect. And if you're finding value in this, let me know in the comments. What's one validation-seeking habit you've recognized in yourself? And if you're serious about leveling up, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. But here's the thing. This is just the foundation. Because there's an even deeper mistake that most men make, one that's even more damaging than seeking validation. And in the next section, we're going to uncover it. If you thought this was powerful, what comes next will change the way you see yourself forever. Stay with me, because the next step is where real transformation begins. Now that we've exposed the toxic habit of seeking validation, it's time to address an even more damaging mistake, one that silently erodes your value in the eyes of women. It's something so common that most men fall into this trap without realizing it. I'm talking about putting a woman at the center of your world. If you've ever felt like you're losing yourself in a relationship, if you've ever made a woman your top priority at the expense of your own goals, dreams, and identity, then this is for you. One of the greatest signs of weakness a man can display is making a woman the focal point of his life. This happens when you start canceling plans, neglecting your passions, and shifting your entire schedule just to accommodate her. At first, she might appreciate the attention, but over time, she'll begin to lose respect for you. Why? Because, deep down, women are drawn to men who are grounded in their purpose. A man without a strong sense of direction, who exists solely to please a woman, is a man who will eventually be discarded. Think about it. Women are biologically wired to be attracted to leaders, to men who have drive, ambition, and an unshakable sense of purpose. When you abandon your path and make her the center of your universe, you send a message that you have no greater mission. And that is the ultimate attraction killer. Let me give you a real-world example. I knew a guy who started dating a woman he was completely infatuated with. At first, things were great. He was confident, engaging, and had a strong sense of purpose. But as time went on, he began prioritizing her over everything. He skipped workouts to spend time with her. He stopped focusing on his career. He even lost interest in his hobbies, all because he wanted to be available to her at all times. And guess what? She started to lose interest. It wasn't because she didn't like him anymore. It was because he stopped being the man she was initially attracted to. The independent, ambitious, purpose-driven man she met had turned into someone whose life revolved around her. Women don't want to be your purpose. They want to be with a man who already has one. Stoicism teaches us the importance of self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that a man must first govern himself before he can influence others. This applies directly to relationships. If you want to be respected, you need to stand firm in your own values and mission. Your life should be moving forward with or without her. Here's a mental shift you need to make. Instead of asking, "What can I do to make her happy?" Start asking, "What can I do to make myself a better man?" Because when you improve yourself physically, mentally, financially, you automatically become more attractive. You radiate strength. And paradoxically, the less you make her your priority, the more she will chase you. Think about the men who are truly admired, leaders, athletes, successful entrepreneurs. Do you think they spend their days obsessing over a single woman's attention? No. They are focused on their goals. They are on a mission, and that energy is magnetic. So how do you break free from this mindset? First, you need to realign your priorities. Ask yourself, if I remove this woman from my life, what do I have left? If the answer is not much, then you have work to do. Build a life that is fulfilling on its own. Develop skills, pursue challenges, and cultivate relationships outside of your romantic interests. The second step is enforcing boundaries. Many men believe that being accommodating will make them more likable, but the truth is, boundaries command respect. If she calls you last minute to change plans and it interferes with something important, don't drop everything to accommodate her. A man with self-respect holds firm to his commitments. And when you do this, something interesting happens. She starts respecting you more. The third step is to embrace solitude. Most men fear being alone, and this fear drives them to seek constant validation in relationships. But solitude is where growth happens. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Learn to enjoy your own company. Master your mind. Because when you reach a point where you are completely at peace being alone, you become unstoppable. And here's something to remember. When a woman sees that you are completely content with or without her, that's when she wants you the most. When you live life on your own terms, she will naturally gravitate toward you, not because you begged for her attention, but because you became a man of value. But there's still one more mistake that destroys attraction. and it's the most damaging of all. This mistake not only repels women, but also weakens your entire masculine presence. It's something that, if you don't correct, will sabotage every relationship you ever have. Before we get into that, if you've been finding value in this, take a second to hit the like button and subscribe. This is the kind of knowledge that separates weak men from strong ones. And if you want to keep growing, you need to surround yourself with this mindset. Now let's dive into the final and most fatal mistake, the one that will determine whether you are respected or dismissed by women. But here's where things get even more dangerous. Most men who fall into this mistake don't even realize it's happening. That's because this error doesn't hit you all at once. It creeps in little by little. One day, you're confident, focused, living your own life, and then suddenly you find yourself constantly wondering what she's thinking, how she feels about you, if you're doing enough to keep her interested. And just like that, the power shifts. Without even noticing it, you've placed her in control of your emotions, your time, your self-worth. This is where everything starts to fall apart. Because here's the cold, hard truth. The moment you make a woman the center of your world, she will instinctively start to pull away. Not because she wants to. Most of the time, she won't even realize it herself, but because attraction doesn't thrive in desperation. It thrives in confidence, in purpose, in a man who is so deeply focused on his mission that he doesn't need constant reassurance from anyone, including her. And if you think this is just an opinion, think again. Look at the most respected men throughout history. Look at the warriors, the philosophers, the leaders. Do you think they were sitting around analyzing text messages, trying to figure out the perfect thing to say to keep a woman interested? No, they were too busy building empires, sharpening their minds, conquering challenges. And do you know what happened as a result? Women naturally gravitated toward them. See, a man who has a strong purpose doesn't chase. He attracts. He doesn't obsess over a woman's every mood swing or worry about whether she'll leave. He knows that if she does, his life continues because he is already fulfilled from within. This is where true masculine power lies. Not in controlling women, not in manipulating them, but in standing so firmly in your own value that they can't help but respect you. But most men don't understand this. Instead, they fall into a cycle of self-sabotage. It starts small. Maybe you cancel plans with your friends to be more available for her. Maybe you start texting her more frequently, making sure she knows you're thinking about her. Maybe you start adjusting your personality to align with what you think she wants. And each time you do this, you're chipping away at your own self-respect, your own identity. At first, she might not notice. In fact, she might even appreciate the attention. But deep down, something shifts. She begins to feel less drawn to you, less excited by your presence. Not because you've done anything inherently wrong, but because she can sense, even if subconsciously, that you are no longer the same man who first attracted her. You've become predictable, overly available, too focused on her validation instead of your own mission. Now, some men, when they feel this shift happening, panic. They try harder. They double down on their mistake. They think, maybe I just need to show her even more how much I care. Maybe I need to prove my love, prove my loyalty. And that's the moment when everything collapses. Because here's what most men don't realize. Women don't fall for men who prove themselves. They fall for men who don't need to. Let me repeat that. Women don't fall for men who constantly prove themselves. They fall for men who don't need to. Think about the most powerful, charismatic men you've ever known. They don't go around begging for attention. They don't need to constantly remind people of their worth. Their presence alone commands respect. Why? Because they know their value. And that certainty, that quiet confidence, is what makes them irresistible. The mistake most men make is thinking that attraction is something you actively create, when in reality, it's something you cultivate by focusing on yourself. A man who is fully immersed in his purpose, who is driven, disciplined, and self-sufficient doesn't need to worry about whether a woman will stay. He knows that his path will attract the right people naturally. So the question is, how do you apply this? How do you break out of this cycle if you've already made this mistake? First, you need to shift your mindset. Instead of asking, how do I keep her interested? Start asking, how do I build a life so fulfilling that her interest is a byproduct of my own success? This shift alone changes everything. Second, start setting boundaries. If you find yourself constantly adjusting your schedule for her, stop. If you're always the first to text, stop. If you find yourself making decisions based on how she will react instead of what's best for you, change that immediately. Third, return to your mission. And if you don't have a mission, find one. It could be your career, your health, your personal development. The point is to create a life so full, so meaningful, that you no longer need anyone else to complete it. Because the moment you reach that state of self-sufficiency, everything else, including women, including relationships, becomes secondary. And paradoxically, that's when they'll start chasing you. This isn't about playing games. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about truly, genuinely becoming a man who doesn't need external validation to feel complete. And when you become that man, you'll realize that you never needed to chase in the first place. The right people will naturally gravitate toward you. But let's be clear, this won't happen overnight. It takes discipline, it takes awareness, it takes the ability to catch yourself when you start slipping back into old habits. But the reward? The reward is a level of confidence and self-respect that makes you unshakable. And look, I know what you might be thinking, but what if I really love this woman? What if she's different? I get it, but here's the reality. If she's truly meant for you, she will respect you even more when you stand firm in your value. And if she's not, then no amount of chasing, pleasing, or proving will change that. The truth is, women will come and go. Some will be temporary lessons, others will be lifelong partners, but the one thing that must remain constant is you, your purpose, your growth, your self-worth. Because at the end of the day, no woman, no relationship, no amount of validation will ever replace the fulfillment that comes from within. So ask yourself, are you living as the kind of man who commands respect? Or are you still falling into the trap of seeking approval? If you're ready to step into your full potential, the change starts now. And remember, real transformation doesn't happen by accident, it happens by choice. Now, as we head into the conclusion, let's bring this all together and solidify the mindset shift that will make you truly unstoppable. And now, here we are. You've made it to the end, and that alone puts you ahead of most men, because the truth is, most guys will never take the time to reflect on their actions, to understand the deep psychological forces at play in attraction, and to correct their mistakes before it's too late. But you're here. You've absorbed this knowledge, and now you have a choice. Continue repeating the same patterns that have been holding you back, or step into a new version of yourself. A version that commands respect, that attracts naturally, and that never needs to beg for approval. Because here's the ultimate reality. Women don't test men to be cruel. They don't pull away to punish you. They don't lose interest just because they get bored. No, it's something far more primal than that. They are wired on a deep instinctual level to seek strength. Not just physical strength, but emotional resilience, purpose, leadership. When they test you, they're not looking for you to pass or fail in a literal sense. They're looking to see who you really are when the pressure is on. Do you fold? Do you chase? Do you panic? Or do you hold firm in your identity, secure, in the knowledge that no one, not even the most beautiful woman, can shake your foundation? And this is where most men get it wrong. They take every reaction personally. They analyze every text, every word, every delay in response, as if it were a life or death situation. But the man who understands the game doesn't play it. He simply lives by a higher standard. He knows that his value doesn't come from the validation of others, but from his mission, his discipline, his ability to remain centered no matter what. This is the mindset that will separate you from 99% of men. This is the mindset that makes you attractive not just to women, but to opportunities, to respect, to success in every area of life. And once you adopt this mentality, everything changes. Women stop being a mystery. Attraction stops feeling like a puzzle you need to solve. And instead, relationships start to happen effortlessly because you're no longer chasing them. You're attracting them by being the best version of yourself. So here's what I want you to do next. If you found value in this, don't let it end here. The worst thing you can do is walk away from this knowledge without taking action. That's what weak men do. They consume, they nod their heads, and then they go right back to their old habits. But strong men, they execute, they apply, and they keep pushing forward. So start now. Go back and reflect on your past interactions. Where have you made these mistakes? Where have you compromised your value? Where have you placed a woman at the center of your world instead of focusing on your mission? Once you identify those patterns, you can start breaking them. And if you truly want to accelerate this transformation, make sure you check out the exclusive training I've put together. It's in the description and pinned in the comments. This training will take you deeper into these principles, showing you exactly how to embody this high-value mindset in a way that naturally attracts respect from women and success in life. And before you go, do this. Hit that like button because that tells YouTube that this message needs to be spread. Subscribe if you haven't already, because this is just the beginning of your journey. And most importantly, drop a comment below. What was the biggest insight you got from this video? What is the number one thing you'll start applying today? Your comment isn't just for me, it's for you. It solidifies your commitment to growth. And if you know a friend who needs to hear this message, share this video with him. Be the reason another man wakes up to his potential. This journey isn't about perfection, it's about evolution. Every day, you have a choice. Stay the same or level up. I already know which path you're going to take because you wouldn't be here if you weren't ready to become the man you were meant to be. Now, don't just consume, act. Watch the next video, keep sharpening your mind, and most importantly, start living by these principles today. The choice is yours. Let's make it happen.